From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas, Hank's Think Tank is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cam's rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. Believe it or not, it's a Sunday. I usually don't come in here on Sunday, but hey, it happens from time to time. I have a candidate with me today from the Ninth Court of Appeals, and her name is Kenna Seiler. And we're going to have a discussion today about the Ninth Court and about the appeals process, about her platform. She's a Republican, she's a conservative, and it's just great to have her in today. Good morning, Kenna. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So let's talk a little bit about the Ninth.
Absolutely.
How big is the district? What all does it involve?
So the Ninth Court of Appeals covers 10 counties. Montgomery County East does not include Harris County, does not include Chambers County, but Montgomery County, Liberty County, Jefferson County, Orange County, Newton County, Jasper County, Tyler, San Jacinto, Polk, and Hardin. That's the district for the Ninth Court of Appeals. And what the Ninth Court of Appeals does is it reviews essentially what happens in the trial courts in those 10 counties.
Okay, and that would be civil and criminal, but not federal, correct?
Correct. All state cases, civil law, family law, criminal law, every appeal from a county court or a district court in any of those 10 counties. What it does not include are death penalty cases. So from the district courts, those go directly to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals.
Okay. And that's got to be an incredible caseload. I mean, because I don't know what the percentage is of cases that get appealed, but it seems like it's pretty high.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you look at all of the cases that are filed at the trial court level, almost every single case settles. So it is rare, I would suspect probably between 1% and 5%, depending on the county, are the cases that actually get tried. Either in a criminal case, there's going to be a plea. In a family law case, there will be an agreement that's reached, a mediated settlement agreement with the parties. Or in a civil case, there will be a settlement, however it is that is reached. And so a very small number of cases actually go to trial. And then of those cases that go to trial, oftentimes that is then the result. Whatever the result is, the parties live with that.
Okay.
And so and then a small percentage of those are then appealed to the appellate courts.
Wow. So do you have any idea what the caseload would be annually, I guess?
So I believe it is between 250 and 400 cases per year. I know that's a pretty wide gap. I've read a couple of
still a big number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and it is a mix of both criminal cases and civil cases.
Wow. Okay. And so how are appellate cases heard? Do all the litigants come back into court again, or?
They do not.
I didn't think so.
I mean, they can. What I tell people as I'm talking to them about the Ninth Court of Appeals is that no one is ever going to get called to jury duty in the Ninth Court of Appeals. And that is, in some respects, unfortunate because nobody really knows about the Court of Appeals, at least our trial level courts. You're getting called to jury duty. You're going to see all of the judges that work for the citizens of that county. Not so in the Ninth Court of Appeals. So the way a regular appeal works is that the district clerk sends the clerk's record. And so that is the papers that are filed within the case. And so not all of the papers, but whatever the live pleadings are, any kind of motions that are at issue, any kind of orders that are at issue, perhaps the judgment, whatever the issue is, that gets sent up to the Court of Appeals. It used to be a paper file. It's now, of course, all electronic.
Nice.
Yes. The
makes it easier.
The court reporter, who is the person in the court who's taking down everything that is said, she types up her record. That also gets sent to the Court of Appeals. And then once all of those are filed, the appellant, and so the appellant is the person who is pursuing the appeal, they file their brief. And so it used to be briefs had page limits. And so we're effectively limited to 50 pages per side. Now it's word limits, and
Wow.
but it still is about 50 pages. And so
That's a lot.
you've got, it, it sounds like a lot, but for some lawyers, it can be difficult to say everything you need to say about the case in 50 pages. And so the party with the burden of proof, so the appellant, they file their brief. The other side has 30 days to then file their response brief, and then the appellant gets the last word and they can file a reply brief. So those are filed with the Court of Appeals. In about a third of the cases, the court will grant oral arguments. And so oral arguments are exactly what it sounds like. You've got
So then they'll come in.
We come in the court sits in panels of 3. So you come into the court, 3 justices are there, and both sides get 20 minutes to either answer questions that the court has or convince the court why they are right. And so sometimes you'll come into oral arguments. I've had oral arguments mostly down in Houston where I just come in and I talk for 20 minutes and they say thank you and you're done.
Okay.
Typically, you start off talking about the case and then you just start getting peppered by questions from the court.
Yeah, I would think so.
And because that's really, I think, the purpose of oral argument. I've said everything I need to say in my brief. I shouldn't just have to come say it again in oral arguments. And so oral arguments are really an opportunity for the court to, kind of challenge some issues that, or challenge some positions that you may make. Maybe, if the court really has a question about an argument that you've made, let's talk about that.
Okay.
And so the Court of Appeals, the Ninth Court of Appeals, is based in Beaumont. And so several years ago, my old boss, Reuben Hope, who was a state representative, passed some legislation that allowed for the Ninth Court of Appeals to also hold oral arguments in Conroe. And so the justices justices have offices at the Montgomery County Courthouse. And so for cases that arise out of Montgomery County, which, is probably about half of the court's caseload, they can have oral arguments in the old commissioner's court in Montgomery County. And so they can have oral arguments in Beaumont, you can have oral arguments in Conroe, and we can also have oral arguments by Zoom.
Wow, I didn't know you could do it by Zoom.
So Zoom oral arguments are interesting. I think I've had 3 oral arguments by Zoom since COVID started. What I have found with oral arguments by Zoom is that, remember when I was telling you each side gets 20 minutes to talk during oral arguments? The Zoom oral arguments seem to be that rather than typically the court will have 3 cases that are set for oral arguments on any Thursday morning. With Zoom, I think we're the only case that's set because every single oral argument in the Ninth Court of Appeals that I have done by Zoom, we've gone on for way more than 20 minutes, just answering questions from the court. And so normally 20 minutes aside, in 45 minutes, your case is done and over with. By Zoom, I've had oral arguments that have lasted over an hour and 15 minutes, just having conversations with the justices answering their questions.
Well, so the end result is that panel would make a decision, and then that decision is final. That's it.
Well, not really. So
the appeal can be appealed?
The appeal can be appealed, yes, I know.
That's too much.
It is. And so the court then writes an opinion. And unlike the trial court that just has a judgment that sort of says who wins and how much, the appellate court will then write an opinion. It could be a 3-page opinion. It could be a 150-page opinion, just depending on what the issues are presented by this court. And so they then issue an opinion. And then depending if somebody doesn't like the outcome of that case, they can then appeal to either the Texas Supreme Court that just does civil or the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals that does criminal.
Wow.
Those courts are different, though, because at the appellate court level, the court has to consider every case. So doesn't mean that the court has to reverse every case, doesn't mean that the court has to have oral arguments on every case, but all the parties get to make their arguments to the court, assuming that they've timely appealed. The next level of courts are courts of discretionary review. And so what that means, for example, in the Texas Supreme Court, the petitioner, which is the party who is appealing from the
Right.
Court of Appeals, they will file a petition for review. It is about 15 pages long, and you have to tell the court how the appellate court erred, but then why this is important to the jurisprudence of the state of Texas. So not just that the court below got it wrong, but that this is such an important issue to Texas law that this is an issue that the Texas Supreme Court should speak on. And kind of the same procedure in the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Not just that the Court of Appeals got it wrong, but that this is such an important issue to
Right.
Texas law that the court should consider it. And so how it works at that next level is if the Texas Supreme Court says, yep, we're going to take this case, then they ask each party for a brief on the merits. And then you're back to your 50 pages and you can have oral argument.
Right.
What I have found recently is that rather than the Texas Supreme Court just granting a petition for review, what I have seen them do is saying we're going to hold on granting or denying the petition for review. We want each side to submit their briefs on the merits. And so I've had cases at the Supreme Court level where we've submitted briefs on the merits and then they just deny the petition for review. Or we filed our briefs on the merits and they grant the petition for review at the same time that they issue their opinion in the case. And so the Texas Supreme Court, Texas Court of Criminal Appeals would then issue an opinion just like the appellate courts do. So
Wow.
short opinion, long opinion, depending
it's a
on what
process.
the issues are. It
Yeah,
is, yes.
yeah. And a costly one, I would imagine.
It is costly and it is long. And so there's a recent case. So this morning I had a meeting with a client and he had a lawsuit that he filed in February of 2019.
Wow.
4 years ago, because we're February of 2024 now. And case went on, so this was filed in Harris County. Case went on for about 6 months in the trial court. And the trial court, and I was not involved in the case at that time, the judge effectively dismissed his case. There were some procedural things that happened kind of in the intervening 6 months, and then my firm filed the notice of appeal. And so the notice of appeal was filed back in spring, summer of 2020.
Okay.
We just got a ruling we just got the case back from the Texas Supreme Court. So we reversed the Harris County judge. We are now back in the trial court in Harris County 5 years after we started.
Wow.
We've just started discovery, right? So the
Yeah.
lawsuit is just kind of starting over 5 years later. So
Yeah, and you got to have tenacity for that. I don't know if I could wait that long for a lawsuit to pan out.
So that's
I guess
difficult.
I guess it depends on what the context is.
And it's difficult
Yeah.
for litigants because the process can be expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Just think
Oh,
about a trial where you are having to pay the court. You're paying the court reporters.
Sure.
For the court reporter for transcribing all of this. You're having to pay the district clerk for the record going up, and then of course you've got to pay lawyers to file all the briefs.
Attorney's fees and such.
Yes.
So it sounds like you have a great job right now. So what would entice you to run for this position?
I don't know. No.
Great answer.
So I love to research and I love to write, and that is truly the best part of my day when I've got this legal question, whether I'm filing a brief in the Court of Appeals or a motion in the trial court, and I've got a question for the court, and I'm researching and writing what the answer is for the court. That is truly that is the best part of what I do. I love being a lawyer. I have a very busy practice. So I've got 10 lawyers in my firm. I've got about 25 employees, and
Wow.
We handle hundreds of cases. Montgomery County, Harris County, all of the surrounding counties, even some cases out of state. So we've got a busy practice. But for me, this has always been my dream job, and this county, this whole area has been so great for my family, and the timing is right for me to give back.
So can you do both, or do you have to step away from one?
I've got to step away from my law practice. Yes, but I've got such great lawyers. They will continue without missing a beat without me there.
And how long is the term for?
It is for 6 years.
6 years.
It is
That's
for 6 years.
That's an odd number of years for.
So it's interesting because most judges, for here in Montgomery County, if you are an elected judge, you're either going to run with the president,
right,
or you're going to run with the governor, and you don't go back. You don't go back and forth. This court is different. So now, 2024, Ninth Court of Appeals, Place 4, runs with the president. In 6 years, Ninth Court of Appeals, Place 4, will run with the governor.
Wow.
So
okay.
it is, 6-year terms.
That's unusual.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk qualifications a little bit, and I bet this is going to go on for a while. So, and how did you decide to become an attorney to start out with? So I like those stories. Those are always good.
Yes.
I just argued when I was a kid and
won. And I'm not really crazy about. I didn't think I wanted to be a lawyer because I'm not really. I didn't think I was good at just speaking in public. Right. That was not something that I would much rather be the person whose nose was in a book and was just. But. I took some law classes when I was in college, economics and law. So I was an economics major, and I took a class that was just fascinating about economics and law and about how to evaluate kind of some legal issues just from an economic standpoint.
Okay.
And that's kind of the first thing that started, and then. I had a friend who was a lawyer in San Antonio and started working at his law firm, cleaning the kitchen, answering the phone, doing all of that my last year in college. And then I took a year off before I went to law school, and I worked for his firm kind of as a law clerk. I would go to trial with lawyers in his firm. I would, I would keep the library updated, but kind of started I would do legal research even before I went to law school. And so then when I started law school, I thought I knew it all. Like, I'm just going to law school just to check the box.
Right.
Man, after that first week, it was it was a sad realization that we had kind of covered everything that I knew. So, and then went to University of Houston Law School and got a job at a big firm in San Antonio. And right before finals started, my third year in law school, about to graduate, got a letter that said, we are so sorry, but the firm is breaking up, and good luck.
Yeah, wow.
And I thought, okay, well, this is not good.
Yeah.
And so my mom, who I adore and who is great, but this is exactly what she would do. She's going to help me find a job, right? Because I now... I had this whole plan, and so that plan is not happening. And so her next door neighbor had just hired Scott Goldman, who is now the Chief Justice of the Beaumont Court of Appeals, away from a firm in Conroe. And he said, I know they're hiring. I know they're looking for someone. And you should send Reuben Hope your resume, but don't give them my name, because they don't like me because I just hired this person away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I sent my resume, and I also sent a writing sample. And so all during law school, I worked for a lawyer in Houston doing appellate work. And so I had a bunch of briefs that I had written. And so I sent that brief. And so he called me in for an interview. And a couple of weeks later, I was hired. I started on a Saturday. My last interview was on a Friday, and he said, can you come in tomorrow? And in my mind, I'm thinking Monday, but no, they're having a work day on Saturday. So I came in on that Saturday, and I still remember talking to Charles Kreger, who also then was on the Court of Appeals, in the kitchen, and he was telling me, the most important people that you're going to meet at the courthouse are not the lawyers and the judges, but it's the people who work at the courthouse, and I'm going to bring you there on Monday, and I'm going to introduce you to the clerks and the coordinators and all of those people. And I was just so, he walked in the clerk's office and everybody knew his name. And that's easy now. Gosh, he served as a justice on the Court of Appeals, but he wasn't Justice Kreger when he did this. I mean, he was just, he was Charles Kreger, lawyer, and
Right.
introduced me to people, and really taught me good lessons about how to be a good lawyer.
Okay.
So, and then I was at that firm for 20 years, was a partner there. My old law partners, right? Did not leave because of, anything bad. I just thought I'm doing more and more kind of different work. My kids are young. I want to be closer to home.
Sure.
Started my own firm, bought some office space, and then I've just grown and grown
Wow.
since then. Yes.
Sounds like fun.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let me ask you this.
Okay.
I've found myself that when I write, because I like to write also,
Uh-huh.
writing unlocks a part of my mind that I can't articulate. So in other words, I can write a whole lot better than I can speak. And I've talked to several people who have had the same claim. They're like, yeah, I'm amazing at writing, but if you ask me to get up and speak that way, I'm much better at writing it down than I am speaking. Have you ever found that yourself? Or
So I
like
it's
my
different.
vocabulary is expanded? I mean, it seems like everything works better when I'm writing as
I-
opposed to speaking.
Absolutely. So like I said, I would much rather have my head in a book and just write this. I feel like I write better than I speak.
I wonder what it is about that.
I
I've
do.
never looked into that, but I need to.
I-
I'd like
I-
to find out what psychologically gets unlocked when we start to write.
I think you can think through it more, and you can go back and you can say, okay, you write something, but then through the editing process, it just you can refine it, as opposed to when you're arguing in front of a judge. The words just come out, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have that ability to edit
Right.
it quite so much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite type of law? Would you rather do criminal law or civil law? Or is there something that you just personally that you like?
So one of the areas of law that I'm really passionate about is guardianship law.
Okay.
And this is something that I've gotten into about 12 years ago. And so I have a daughter with a disability, and gosh, at the time she would have, she was probably 8-10 years old. And I was talking to families who were saying, we're struggling with finding a lawyer to handle guardianship for us. And so what that means is that when kids with disabilities turn 18, they are an adult.
Right.
And they, in the eyes of the law, they can make their medical decisions. They can decide where they live. They can make educational decisions. They can make all of these decisions, and their parents don't have a say unless they come in and they're appointed by a court as their guardian. And so I said, well, I don't really know very much about guardianship law, but let me look at this.
Yeah.
And so I found that I love this area of law. And so my firm, right now, my firm handles about half of the practice is commercial litigation, which I also love. And the other half is fiduciary litigation. So this is fights over states, guardianships, trusts.
Okay.
And within the fiduciary litigation section, we handle a lot of guardianships, both the uncontested guardianships. So think family with a daughter with Down syndrome who's about to turn 18 years old, and if her parents don't get guardianships, then the doctors won't talk to her parents about her medical decisions.
Well, yeah, that's rough.
And so we do a lot of guardianship work, and handle guardianship trials, a lot of guardianship estate trials, as well as appeals.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm the average voter guy.
Yes.
And I don't know how to get in touch with Kenna Seiler. So how would be the best way to just take a look at your platform and Facebook? Do you have a website?
I do. I have all of these things.
Okay.
So I've got a website, kennaseiler.com. This is the benefit of having an unusual name. You can just put your name out there and put a .com after it. I was named after my grandfather, Joe Kenna. I was supposed to be a boy, but and be Joseph, but I got his last name instead. So kennaseiler.com is the website. Kenna Seiler for 9th COA is the Facebook page.
Okay.
And my cell number is 936-760-5724. And My email is kseiler@srg-law.com.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Do you have any additional speaking engagements?
I think Tuesday night there is a forum at Calvary Church in Willis. I think that's the
Calvary Church in Willis.
I think that's
that
the
rings a bell.
last. I think that's the very last forum.
Okay.
I'm having events all of the Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. All of the following next week. But
Okay.
yes, early voting starts. Early voting
Tuesday.
starts on Tuesday. Yes. Yes.
Came up quick.
It did. It
You
did.
know? But you've been campaigning for a while, I would imagine, huh?
So I just decided to run in probably late August, I think late August. I just, you had asked me before about kind of the timing and why I'm running, and, the timing just was never right for me. I just,
Right.
my son is more than halfway through law school. And my daughter is now 19. And so just from a timing standpoint, kind of the time was good. And somebody said something to me about it, encouraged me to run on a Friday. And I thought about it over the weekend and did it on Monday.
Yeah.
So I feel like I haven't been running for very long, but also, gosh, I feel like now I've been running
because it's
forever.
24/7.
It
I
is.
ran for a position back in 2020, and yeah, it's just
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can definitely understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else coming up soon that public function that anybody can go to besides Calvary Church?
So Monday, the 27th, there is an event at, I think it's 3Bs on Rayford Road.
Okay.
All of that information is on my my Facebook page, and people
Okay.
can go to that.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And so, just a final plea for votes. I mean,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
would be the reason why someone would vote for you?
Here's why you should vote for me.
Okay.
And this is what I say at every single forum, every single speaking engagement. There are 109,000 lawyers in all of the state of Texas, and of those, only 409 are board certified in civil appellate law, and I am one of them. It is a rigorous and grueling process to become board certified in civil appellate law. You've got to get recommendations from opposing counsel, from judges. Appellate law, civil appellate law, has to be a substantial area of your practice. And so if you are looking at board certifications that people hold, whatever the certification is, it tells you this is what that lawyer does, and this is what I do. I've handled upwards of 170 different appeals. I've handled every single type of appeal that this court could consider. So we talked a little bit about guardianship. I've handled guardianship appeals, probate appeals, trust appeals, estate appeals, commercial dispute appeals, employment appeals, criminal appeals, family appeals, insurance appeals, personal injury appeals, contract appeals, real estate appeals. You name
Wow,
the type
yeah.
of case that could come before this court. I've done it. I am also, I've been involved in Republican organizations for years and years and years. I'm not someone who's just showing up to run for office. So
Okay.
I've been on the board of the Montgomery County Republican Women, have been a member of just about every single Republican organization in the county and even outside the county. I am endorsed by Texas Right to Life, by Texas Alliance for Life. I've been very actively involved in the pro-life community for years. I'm the Lawyer for Life First, which is a pro-life organization here in Montgomery County.
Okay.
And I've been pro-life since I was a little kid. But because of my daughter Rachel, I get to talk now to people outside of Republican and pro-life circles about just why I'm pro-life and why they should be also. My daughter Rachel has something called Rett syndrome. She doesn't walk, she doesn't talk, she doesn't have use of her arms or hands. Rett syndrome is a genetic disorder on the X chromosome. We hear a lot about chromosomes, right? I have two X's, you have an X and a Y.
Right.
And so if a female has a defect on the X chromosome, she can survive. If a male has a defect on the X chromosome, the mom would probably just have a miscarriage, and you would never hear about Rett syndrome. Girls with Rett syndrome develop normally. They They walk, they talk, they do everything they are supposed to do until they are between 6 and 18 months old. And then they regress. They forever lose the ability to speak. They forever lose the ability to use their arms or their hands. And so these are two things that are almost every single Rett girl. And I talk about Rett girls just
Wow.
because it's an excellent just genetic disorder.
What a tough life, yeah.
You know what? Her life is beautiful. She is 19 years old. She wakes up with a smile every single day. She loves to travel. People at the airport know Rachel. There's a whole lot you can say about Disney that I don't like, but Disney World knows how to treat kids with disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
they
they're known
are
for that.
amazing with her, and she
Right.
she loves to go there. And so so because of Rachel, and I talk about her a lot because I want to help other families find their diagnosis, because I found my diagnosis because a lawyer friend of mine said, it sounds like Rachel has Rett syndrome. We'd been going through all of the tests, seeing doctors with MDs and PhDs, and here's just a friend of mine who's a lawyer who said, it sounds like she has Rett syndrome.
Wow.
Because he knew someone who had a daughter with Rett syndrome. And so I asked, and the doctor said, I don't think that's what she has, but
we can test for that.
we can test for it. We can't rule it out. And once you have a diagnosis, and this is so important for families with children with disabilities, once you have that diagnosis, you can find help. You can find resources. So
Right.
we got our diagnosis on a Tuesday. We were at the Bluebird Rett Center at Texas Children's Hospital 2 days later, and we're connected with the International Rett Syndrome Foundation the next Saturday. It is that quick, and it is that important to get in touch with people who can help, because you just have a child with a disability, you're kind of out there on your own. You don't know where to go. And
Right.
so so that's why I talk about Rett syndrome, and I talk about Rachel every single day, so that I can help spread awareness of Rett
Cool.
syndrome
I like it.
to maybe help another family.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Kenna, I'm glad you came in, had a chance
Thank
to talk
you.
with me, and I learned a little bit again today, because I always learn something.
Well,
in
very
this.
good. It was an
And,
absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I think you did real well in explaining the Ninth Court of Appeals and how it works, because I really didn't know too much about the functionality of it. I know a little bit more now.
Very
so
good.
now I can argue with people. So no, it doesn't work that way.
Very good.
So,
Very good.
Well, there you have it, guys. Kenna Seiler, and she's running for the Ninth Court of Appeals. Go to her website, Facebook page, get to know what kind of person she is, or her platform, and make intelligent choices at the voting box. Early voting starts Tuesday, so get out there and vote. Be a part of the process. Right the ship. I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we'll see you in the next one.